Hello everyone, welcome back to Cooking with Donna. Today, as you can see, what I have out is some pork chops. I have 5 pork chops there. You don't want them too thin. I'm going to be making something simple. A lot of us know how to do it, but there's a lot of us that don't even know how to make a gravy, you know, and I wanted to share it with y'all what we're having for dinner. So here I have 5 pork chops. Like I said, you don't want to get them real thin because we're going to cook these in the gravy. Okay, so I'm going to spice them up with, I don't have a measurement for it, just put it on there. Some garlic powder. I have some onion powder. Is that focusing there? I can't tell. I want y'all to be able to see. Some onion powder. And I have some Tony's Creole seasoning, some black pepper, and we'll be using just a little bit of salt. So I'll show you what I use. Now, this is what really flavors these pork chops, is the spices as they fry, and then they're going to simmer in that gravy, and that gravy is just going to be so delicious. Trust me, you'll like them. So I'm going in with some garlic powder. And like I said, I have 5 of them here. And then I'm going to do a little bit of my Creole. Not a whole lot because this has salt. So we won't be putting a whole lot of salt on these, because we are using some bullion in our. So now we're going with some onion. And we're going to get these in a hot pan with a couple tablespoons of your choice of oil. But I wouldn't do olive oil because that doesn't have a high smoke tint to it. But I would actually go with canola or some vegetable oil. And there's our pepper. Me, I'm a one-sided spice person. I always just spice one side when it's in the gravy like that. But if you want to spice the other side, go right ahead. But you can see how much spice I put on those. Not a whole lot. Whoops. But we're going to get this into the hot pan. So let's get this over there. Okay, I got my oil here. 2 to 3 tablespoons I have there. It's hot. You want these pork chops to sizzle. You want them to fry up. Get them nice and brown. You can already smell, even though that one side's not spiced, you can already smell that them spices frying. But I'm going to fry these up 2 to 3 minutes on each side. They'll finish cooking in the gravy. But just until they're golden brown. I don't want to crowd the pan with the last pork chops. And I did put a little bit of salt. I don't think I salted them a while ago, so I did put a little bit of salt. Okay, so I'm going to fry these 2 or 3 minutes on each side. All right, these been cooking a few minutes. Let's check them and see. Yeah, there you go. We'll cook them a few minutes on the other side. Oh, these smell so good. So good. All right, let's. Now this one needs a little bit more browning. Now that spice on that other side frying, that's going to be some good flavor. All right, let's let the other side cook and let that one. Okay, I got my chops all fried up, and then I fried that last one up. You can see that. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, now you may need to put some more oil in here. I had to put a couple more tablespoons for your gravy. See there? And don't take out none of that stuff at the bottom of the pan. That's where the flavor's at. Leave it all right there. And I'm gonna go in probably with maybe 3 big tablespoons of flour. And you can eat this with some rice, some mashed potatoes. I had a box of that rice pilaf we're having this with tonight. But I'm just going to cook this up, and if it looks a little dry, you can add a little bit more oil, but this will be fine. We're just going to cook the... Curtis, can you get me a cup of water there? Cook that raw flavor out. And you're just going to cook this up maybe a minute or two. And you want to put quite a bit of water in there because this is going to be cooking for a while. And it'll cook down. Okay, let me turn this up a little bit. This is some southern eating right here. We love it. But just be careful because we cooked this a long time in the gravy. And we know pork chops have them little bone chips in them. So be careful. Because these are going to get very tender, but so good. All right. I'm going to slowly add my water in here. See how pretty that color, that gravy is? And it'll darken some more once we get the, see, that's really thick. I know, guys. You don't like that scraping. I'm trying not to, I promise. And I'm probably going to go with 3 cups of water. And once this boils for a little bit, you'll see how thick it's going to be. And if it needs more, we'll add more because them chops are going to cook right in here. Now, this would be your time if you would like. You could add some, can you give me a little bit more water? You can add some onion, smothered chops. But we got some picky eaters today for supper, so we're not going to add the onion.
Oh, I wonder who.
Uh-huh. And you can add some bell pepper in here. But it's just as delicious, just like this. Full of flavor. Now I need, what did I do with my... It's always best to check your salt at the end. Because if you taste the gravy now and then you'd be like, oh, it needs salt. Don't forget, them pork chops are going in here. And all that salt and the Creole seasoning is going to come off in here. So I'll keep stirring till this comes to a boil. All right, as you can see there, it's boiling. And see how thin that is? But remember, this is going to cook down. So don't put no more salt in here until it's just about done. And you'll know more or less if you'll need any. I'm not going to add no more salt. I'm going to add at the end, as I said, I'll add some, let me turn that down, some of this here, the chicken bouillon. I'll probably end up using a teaspoon or 2. We'll just see how that goes. Let me turn this down. We're going to turn this down to low because we want these pork chops to cook in there. So we're going to drop these in right in that gravy. And we're going to cover them. I can eat it just like that. Yummy, yummy. We love pork chops. They're such a comfort food. I know we grew up on pork chops. Mama made these a lot with some mashed potatoes and vegetables and her biscuits. Now, this is where the flavor is going to start, right here. When them chops start flavoring that gravy. So I'm going to cover it up. I ended up putting 4 cups of water in here. Now, if you see it's getting real thick and your chops are still tough, add some more water. That's all you got to do. Now, where's my lid? Here's my lid. We'll get that covered. Cook it on low. And I'll check them in about 45 minutes to an hour. Okay, guys, my pork chop's been cooking for a half hour. I know they're not done, but we're going to flip them. Now, as you're cooking your chops, I know I said earlier not thin chops, but I guess I said that because I don't use thin chops. You use whatever you want to use. Okay? Now, if you see your chops are already getting tender enough for you and your gravy's still too thin, leave your lid off. That'll all evaporate off and it'll start thickening. Okay? So leave your lid off. Whoops, leave your lid off once you think your chops are getting nice and tender and you want your gravy thicker. Or if it's getting too thick for you and they're still tough, it depends on what chop you're using, just add some more water in there, a little bit more water. But I wanted you to see here, if I can get this one, how low of a boil I have that on. Okay, so that's where we're at. They're getting there. They're starting to get tender. So we'll let those finish cooking. Now, I forgot to mention, now when you, about maybe the last half hour of your cooking, of your pork chops, like right now, mine's been cooking about a half hour. So I'm thinking they got to cook maybe another half hour. So the last half hour of your cooking, if you want, put you some onions. I usually do maybe a half of a small onion. Cut them however you want. I usually just cut circles, or I just don't dice them. I usually do circles and just put them all over it. Or you can fry them when you throw your flour in there with your grease. You can put those onions in there to fry a little bit with your flour and your oil. Okay, so I just wanted to bring that up to you. But when you fry them with your oil and you cook them a long time, they kind of start falling apart. I like to see the big pieces of onions in there. So that's why I do it this way. I'll put them on it like right now, the first half hour of cooking. Just put them all over the pork chops there and let them cook. Alrighty, my friends, the pork chops are done and I plated it up and somebody's going to get this dinner plate. Now, we served it up with some rice pilaf. Now, if you've never had, we like these ones here. But you can buy whatever one you want, make your own. But this is just simple. Or you can use white rice or have it with some mashed potatoes. But we got some mixed vegetables there, some red pepper and broccoli and corn and the rice pilaf and the pork chops. Now, right at the last minute, or maybe 10 minutes before it was done, I added a teaspoon of chicken bullion powder to my gravy. Now, it depends on how much salt and seasonings you put on your chop, but this is just how I do mine. I'm sorry I don't have measurements. There's so many things I don't measure when I cook, so it's kind of hard, but I wanted to give you an idea roughly how I make it, and you can't go wrong with it. You can't, if you think, oh, maybe I don't got enough spice, just remember, pork chop by itself will make a beautiful, flavorful gravy. So don't worry about overloading it with a whole bunch of spices. You'll do well. Just try not to over salt. That's what you got to worry about, because as your gravy cooks down, it's going to get saltier and saltier. So that's why I say salt it at the end. But let's go ahead and try this chop here. and it's tender. Mine cooked about maybe, I think, an hour and 15 minutes. Now, it just depends on how thick or thin your chops are. That's going to determine how long you're going to cook it. Nice and tender. Oh, yes. Delicious. Oh, my God. This is so good, you guys. So flavorful. And it doesn't take much at all to prepare this delicious meal. And it's so comforting. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. And I hope all of y'all are doing well. And give me a like. Share. Get me out there. Go check out my merch. And until next time, you guys stay blessed as always. And I hope you enjoy the pork chops. Try them up. They're delicious. Try them up. Fry them up. All right, guys. We'll see you later. God bless.